We're in my fifth book, Emanations of Illumination, and this is in the Light of the Infinite series. You can see it's number 5. So I just wanted to jump into the introduction to this book because one of my favorite lessons is in here, and just to give you a little taste. Also how all of these books came about after my mom's passing. I spent 2 years of my life basically devoted to bringing some of these spiritual teachings and wisdom and all of this epicness that sort of got me through this time, moving from darkness and pain toward joy and light. I just wanted to share all of this. So these books are kind of my own journey, telling my own story, but also bringing and paralleling the 5 books of the Torah. So it's 5-book series, and bringing so much of this wisdom from Rabbi Nachman, the Alter Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rab Natan, and all of the other greats like Rambam, Ramban, Arizal, and all of the epic people throughout the years in Jewish tradition. And so I'm going to start right now with the introduction, and then tomorrow I'll be back and we'll jump into the first Torah portion of Dvarim, and we'll jump into that as part of my story time series. So when I started writing the first chapter of this series, before even knowing it would become a book, I had a crippling fear of public speaking. I spent my entire life turning down every invitation to share because the fear loomed so large. The first chapter was meant to be a one-off, a way to honor my ex-wife's mother, Yehudis Chava Bat Yaakov Dov, on her yortzeit, the 1-year anniversary of her passing on the Hebrew calendar, which was on Purim. I thought that was it, but the writings seemed to touch people. People were thirsty for this blend of mindfulness and spirituality mixed with ancient Jewish mysticism and the endless gems of the Torah. It was then that I realized that I hadn't written just one thing in honor of Yehudis. I had started a multifaceted project in her honor. Unfortunately, when my mom passed shortly after, I realized that I could either get lost in the loss or use the pain to push myself to continue inspiring others. I spent the next 2 years learning and writing just about every day, releasing a chapter a week. Some were printed out and distributed, others found their way to people that needed it through the digital ether. Once all these chapters became a book series, I knew I would have to break out of my shell and start to speak. It began to sink in that every time I said no to my fear of public speaking, I gave more and more power to the fear itself. The next time I was asked to speak, I decided to say yes, knowing that each yes was a way of peeling back a layer of this big ball of fear that I had unintentionally been helping to expand. With this 5th and final book in the series, Emanations of Illumination, I have a chance to look back at all the radiant effusions that had taken place from one moment of loss. People often speak of the light that comes out of darkness. Most of us are familiar with phrases like, "It was always darkest before the dawn." But it can feel ephemeral when the darkness gives birth to a fleeting moment of light that seems to disappear as quickly as it appeared. It's like a dream, but when the illumination is connected to our purpose, and even greater than that, our Creator, then it's an everlasting light that can dispel any darkness, no matter how dense. This illumination continues and grows the more we connect to the Torah and to our own truest nature. In Talmud Kedushin, the Torah is compared to the elixir of life. As it's written, "Israel, my children, I created an evil inclination, which is the wound, and I created the Torah, which is its antidote." The klipot, the shells that conceal godly light, and the livushim, the garments that do the same, begin to peel away as our faith and alignment strengthen. When we live in fear and doubt, the garments that conceal clarity and godliness are palpable. We can take this seeming concrete confusion away by putting our full trust into hashgacha prati, which is divine providence, that everything is happening as it needs to for the highest good of all creation. And as Rabbi Nachman teaches, en shum yeush ba'olam klal, meaning there is no such thing as despair in the world at all. This doesn't mean that it's okay or it's not okay to feel sad or low or disappointed. It's simply a reminder that the darkest of night has a purpose always. That despair is meant to send us back to the source, which makes it life-giving and not life-draining. This is truly a blessing. The entire journey is about trusting and fueling our perceptions of reality with emunah, with faith, rather than fear. There's this curious verse in the Torah that reads, "Esh tamid tukad al hamizbeach lo tichbeh." A constant fire shall be kept burning on the altar. It should not be extinguished. There's this beauty in the imagery of a constant fire burning on the altar for Hashem, for God. But Hasidic teaching takes it a step further. The Alter Rebbe shares an incredible lesson from the Maggid of Mezerich, who taught that bringing a sacrifice to the altar is only one component of the offering. Kindling the fire underneath it is another key component, which correlates metaphorically with extinguishing negativity. The Maggid read the verse not as lo, no, tichbe, extinguish, but as tichbe, extinguish the no, lo, extinguish the negative. As we covered in the chapter Revolt versus Redemption, the Hasidic concept of dira b'tachtonim, a dwelling for the infinite in the lower realms, is an oft-repeated teaching by the Lubavitcher Rebbe. It's expounded on in the verse, they shall make for me a dwelling, and I will dwell amidst them. V'shachanti b'tocham. Grammatically, the text should read b'tocho, meaning in singular, I will dwell within it, the Mishkan, the sanctuary. According to the Shla, this indicates that in addition to building the physical Mishkan, this tabernacle, this sacred sanctuary, Hashem, God, wants every Jew to make themselves and their home a holy place so that the divine can dwell there. We are each tasked with building a personal temple from the inside out. The more we work on building and revealing that holiness within ourselves and each other, the more the Infinite One's presence will be fully revealed in the world, and the closer we get to the third and final temple and redemption. It's a fundamental lesson in think globally, act locally. The Hasidic masters explain this. This is what man is all about. This is the purpose of man's creation and of the creation of all the worlds, supernal and terrestrial, to make for God a dwelling in the lower realms. The Maggid is expounding on this concept of the human being as a mishkan, a divine dwelling place, emphasizing that bringing the sacrifices must be done with a burning desire that we build up and are careful not to extinguish. Dveikut, clinging to God, is exactly this. It's our desire to be one with our Creator, which is done through studying the Torah, fulfilling the mitzvot, the commandments, and revealing Hashem's presence in the world. This is the divine fire within our hearts that we are tasked to not extinguish. Being careful to extinguish the no or the negative could also manifest as not being compelled by the critical voices within us. Sitra Achra literally means the other side and refers to the side of ourselves as well as the life-depleting forces of the universe. These are the thoughts that tell us that we are not good enough, or not ready or able to do that which we are actually meant to do, or even that we can delay helping someone or doing something good. We are often holding on to a faulty picture of ourselves that was constructed from a distorted view of who we really are. Like we've been looking through the lens of fear, doubt, insecurity, and are unable to see ourselves clearly. As I touch on above, as we spoke about earlier, for my entire life up until a year ago, when people asked me to speak publicly, I always declined because my fear insisted that I wasn't a speaker or a teacher. My immense fear of speaking in front of others and the negative effects it would have on me, nervousness, anxiety, far outweighed what I perceived to be the positive outcome of public speaking, inspiring or even changing someone's life. I realized that every time I said no, I was only helping the fear grow bigger and stronger. In neuroscience, there's this term called neuroplasticity. This is how we rewire our brains that we don't live our lives being controlled by fear or doubt. They may still be there, but they don't need to take the wheel. Every time we say yes in the face of fear, we are building up our courage and our belief that we are truly immensely capable and powerful. This simple act helps us to rewire our system away from fear and doubt. So those that just joined, just reading the introduction to my fifth book, Emanations of Illumination. This is the fifth and final book in my Light of the Infinite series for Deuteronomy, for Dvarim, which parallels the 5 books of the Torah. Once I started publishing these books, I realized I couldn't be an author who refuses to speak. With each no, I was making this ball of fear into a giant ball of anxiety that I then avoided engaging with because it felt overwhelming. When I decided to extinguish the no and began to say yes to every speaking opportunity, I also began chipping away at this limiting story that I was inadvertently telling about myself. I felt that saying yes was also tapping into the limitless potential within all of us, the infinite soul, the powers that lie within our own sanctuaries, the Mishkan. We need to extinguish the selfish inclinations that powers our no, along with the false perceptions and limitations that we place on ourselves. If someone is asking something of us that we feel is out of our comfort zone, perhaps they see something that maybe we don't. Maybe they see our true potential that we have covered up. As Joey from Friends says, it's not even a line that we have drawn or a line that we can even see any longer, but merely a distant dot. It's time to take the dot, the potential, the godly spark that sustains our being, and transform it into something that the world can see. I thought I would end the introduction to this last book of the Light of the Infinite series with the last part of a poem I wrote for a short story event. My little gloves in this ring, it felt silly, but also felt like the beginning, the first thought of thoughts of winning. How to write a book. I've always wanted to, but that was 20 years ago. Shouldn't these dreams slow? What will I write? I want to inspire the fire that love grows. I want to rewire the mind that doubt closed. Wow, these words are waves and water, a well for the fallen. I stood upright, showing them the light that darkness brings, the melody of alchemy. This mirror wasn't so bad. I can only see the present, and even that seemed abstracted. So I looked past it, ignoring the reflection, allowing the refraction. I found her there. I stopped and stared. She, in every being. It was me I was seeing. We are only light.